Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It is Palestine here. Welcome to my channel. I wasn't meaning to make a video so soon, and I was going to make a video on something else. But last night, around midnight, I got a telephone call from a friend. And he is somebody who I met at the handouts that I have to go to because I'm destitute. And basically I saw him in the hospital. I invited him to Depression Expression because he was a vulnerable person. He's addicted to benzodiazepam because that's what the doctors prescribed him, and they've been prescribing this to him for 20 years, so now he's addicted. And if you know anything about benzodiazepam, you can't just stop taking it because you can have all kinds of health problems like seizures and strokes and everything else if you stop taking it. So you have to be tapered off of it. And he's got like an ADHD as well, in addition to his social phobia, substance addiction, and mental health problems. I think he's got ADHD as well. So he doesn't have the discipline to taper himself off of the benzodiazepam. And there's not a suitable program for him to go on. There is a program for drug and alcohol rehab in the town I live in, but street people go there. And he says he's not a street person, so he's not going. So 2 times now, there have been programs in the town I live in to help get him off these benzodiazepam. But he says that because he's not a street person, he's not going there. So he continues to be addicted to benzodiazepams. And because of his mental health problems, he can't get off of it. And I don't think he'll ever get off of it, really. And in addition to that, we invited him to Depression Expression. He was really happy at Depression Expression, but then he met this other friend of ours who we thought was a friend, and who we knew he was a fraudster. He had been in prison twice for fraud. I can't tell you his name, but if I did tell you his name, you would be able to look it up on Google, because there have been articles written about his fraudulent activities, because he even has stolen money from charities. And even though he's on the internet, if I told you his name, you could look it up on the internet and see for yourself. But I don't want anybody to complain about my channel, so I can't tell you his name. I tell people his name privately, but I can't say it on YouTube. And this guy scammed him. And because this guy scammed him out of close to £1,000, and when you are destitute and on benefits, £1,000 is a lot of money, you know. And so obviously my friend, the one that's addicted to benzodiazepam and got scammed by this guy, it caused him to lose his faith in people. It caused him to want to stay home more because he's also social phobic. And so basically this guy that we thought was our friend that was in prison for fraud, that if I told you his name, you could look it up on the internet and you'd find some articles about him. It just destroyed his confidence. And basically now our friend doesn't go to the Depression Expression meetings, only very rarely. And he also has a brother living with him. He has a twin brother, and his brother's like an inch taller than him. But my friend's not very tall, but his brother's like an inch taller than him. He's got lots of problems too. He's social phobic too. And basically what happened with my friend and his brother, their parents didn't do anything wrong. Their parents were not bad parents, but he just decided he wasn't going to go to school. And so what happened was, and the parents didn't do anything wrong. They were not bad parents. But because he didn't want to go to school, because he refused to go to school, they made him a ward of the court, I believe his brother as well, and they sent him to a boarding school, a state-run boarding school. And so when they sent him to the state-run boarding school, he got beat up and everything at this boarding school. So that made his social phobia even worse. So he's got like a social phobia, which means that he doesn't want to go outside. And his brother's the same, but his brother is like a size 8XL. His brother obviously has an eating problem. The brother also has social phobia. His social phobia is worse than my friend's. He has sleep apnea. He has to sleep with some machine to help him breathe. And basically what happened is the brother had been the carer to the mother who died of Parkinson's. And the mother also had breast cancer, but she died of Parkinson's. And then so when the mother died, the mother had like set up a trust for the boys. So the boys, the two boys, they get like maybe 6,000 pounds a year. But in today's money, that's not very much. You know, that's not much. But they get like 6,000 pounds a year, so they have to live on that money. And then basically what happened was when the mother died, this brother turned up at my friend's house with nowhere to go. So the brother was staying in my friend's bedroom, and then my friend was sleeping in the living room because he just had a really small apartment with a bedroom, a living room, a bathroom, and a kitchen. And so the brother took over the bedroom, and then my friend was sleeping in the living room. Well, this caused a lot of problems. Now, this all happened about 7 years ago, and I met my friend during COVID, and then I met him again in the hospital. But because my friend is living in social housing, he's living in like council accommodation, you know, you're not allowed to just invite people to your house. You're not allowed to do that. Like when you're living in council accommodation, that accommodation is for you. And you're not allowed to invite people to live there. And so if somebody is living in your house, you have to declare it. Well, this guy just moved in, and something happened. I think maybe the neighbors turned him in or something like that. But the brother wasn't paying any money. The brother had no income. The only income that the brother had was this 6,000 pounds a year money from a trust, because the brother wasn't on ESA. He'd lost his ESA. I don't know how he lost his ESA, but he lost his ESA. I think that the forms came through for him to fill out the forms, which he never did. And then so the brother had lost his ESA. He had no income, so he was living at my friend's apartment. But this caused a lot of problems for my friend, because when you're living in social housing, you're not allowed to just let people in your house. That house is for you. And so I don't think that he actually declared that his brother was there. And then, so it caused problems for his council tax. His council tax wasn't paid. It caused problems for his rent. His rent wasn't paid. And now my friend keeps saying, oh, the bailiffs are coming, the bailiffs are coming. I'm not going to open the door to the bailiffs and stuff like that. And then so I think it's because the brother has told my friend that the bailiffs are coming. And so my friend, because he's got ADHD and because he's addicted to benzos, he can't do much. He can't do very much. And his memory is not very good. And so basically, and then because this government is cracking down, they're cracking down on benefits. So something happened. I'm not sure of all the details, but something happened, and my friend's brother, who's like a size 8XL, wasn't getting his medication anymore. And the problem was because he hadn't been on ESA or Universal Credit or anything for like 7 years. He wasn't in the system. And so they stopped paying, they stopped giving him his medication. I'm not sure of all the particulars of it, but he wasn't getting his medication anymore because of what happened. And they said that he was going to have to pay for the medication. Don't ask me why he never applied for Universal Credit or ESA or anything like that, because these people have mental health problems, so they don't think the way normal people think. So, and my friend even had terrible problems getting on ESA or Universal Credit because the brother was supposed to fill out the forms and the brother didn't fill out the forms, and it just went on and on and on. And somehow or other, I don't know what happened, but somehow or other, the forms got filled out and he got on ESA, but he's saying that they're cutting his ESA. And the reason why they're cutting his ESA is because I think they don't see that he's unhealthy enough not to work. So they're cutting his benefits as well. So he's getting his benefits cut. So he thinks it's the government's fault. And it is the government's fault because the government is cracking down on benefit fraud, but he's not committing benefit fraud. He's a vulnerable person addicted to benzodiazepine. Most likely has a learning disability. He can't do these things. And so I told him, I said, you must tell your father what's going on, because his father's in his 80s. And then the father said, he said, I can't tell my father, he wouldn't understand. And because he's addicted to benzos, he wants to sue the government. He wants to sue the medical establishment for prescribing him these benzos, because he said they never should have prescribed me the benzos in the first place to get me addicted. But I told him, I said, you're not gonna, I said, with regard to liability, in industrial accident, with regard to an industrial accident, you have 3 years from the time that they did this to make a claim. Well, he's known for 20 years that they should not have prescribed him benzodiazepine, and if he wanted to sue any medical establishment, he should have done that within that 3-year time slot, which he didn't do. In addition to that, he'll make medical appointments and he won't attend the medical appointments. So he's never gonna get anywhere trying to sue the medical establishment, because he didn't do it within the 3-year limitation. And because he didn't attend his medical appointments, he's going to be seen as incredible. And so nothing is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to him. And that he's not going to get anywhere. And then so basically what happened was, I do have a call coming in, but I'm going to ignore it because I want to keep on making this video. And then so what happened was, he's in a terrible state, and the government is just saying, well, you're not sick enough. So they're cutting his benefits as well. And then so his brother was on these really narcotics for pain for years, and he hasn't been on benefits for 7 years. And then what happened was that he hasn't had his drugs for at least 6 months because they stopped his drugs. And then when they stopped his drugs, he wasn't on any medication for 6 years. And so last night, and this is an 8XL guy, last night, he hasn't only bathes like once a year or something like that. He doesn't cut his hair. He bathes like once a year. He's in terrible state. Last night he ran down the stairs, and then when he ran down the stairs, he went into the car lot and he collapsed. I don't know what was going on in his head. I know he's social phobic. He doesn't go outside. That was the first time he'd been outside in years, except for maybe to go to a doctor's appointment, or maybe for his father to pick him up to do something with his computer. So he collapsed in the car park, and then so my friend had to ring an ambulance, and an ambulance did actually come and get him, because even now, the ambulances won't always come. When you call an ambulance, they won't always come. Because I found that to be the case, because one time some guy had collapsed from a drug overdose, and the ambulance just wouldn't come. So the guy was lucky that the ambulance came, but the ambulance did come and get him. And then my friend phoned me, and because of his mental health problems, He said, my friend's been admitted to hospital. My brother's been admitted to hospital. He's at A&E right now. And I said, how's he been admitted? And he said, well, he's in A&E. Well, being in A&E is not being admitted to the hospital. Anybody can go into A&E. So he gets confused. He thinks that just because his brother's in A&E that he's been admitted to the hospital. But he's not admitted to the hospital. He's just in A&E. But they did run a lot of tests on him, and they found out that he's diabetic, which my friend is diabetic, so it's not surprising that his brother's diabetic because he's an 8XL. And so they found out he was diabetic. They did all kinds of tests on him. He also has some constricture in his urinary tract, and it's just a terrible state. He hasn't seen a doctor in years and years and years. He hasn't been on benefits in years. And my friend would not ring social services about his brother because my friend and his brother, they had been made wards of the court, and they had been put in a boarding school where they were abused at the boarding school. So my friend was not going to ring social services no matter how bad his brother's state got. But they did find out he's diabetic. They found out all kinds of things. And he did, in fact, get admitted to the hospital. So I texted him in the middle of the night, and I said, well, how is your brother? How is your brother? And he said that his brother is admitted to the hospital. And so they kept him in the hospital. And he said that his brother's going to get a social worker. But my friend says all kinds of things. Like he said he was going to get a psychiatrist to prove that he was mentally incapable of working. He never did that. He said that his father was going to pay for him to have a psychiatrist. That never happened. He said, but he had to do a lot of things first. That never happened. His father never paid for him to have a psychiatrist to say that he wasn't fit for work. And so my friend says a lot of things. He says that his brother's going to get his own apartment. I say, okay, when is his brother going to get an apartment? He says, well, when somebody sees him. But of course, nobody was seeing him. He was just stuck in that room for years and years and years all by himself. I've never even seen his brother. I've been to the friend's house and the brother stays in the room. So my friend, he says all kinds of things. So he said his brother's going to get his own apartment, but he's not ringing social services to get his brother help. He says his brother's going to get the highest rate of disability benefit, but he's not ringing the benefits, the DWP, to get his help. So he says all kinds of things. But they did actually keep his brother in the hospital last night, so he has been admitted to the hospital after my friend said he was admitted to the hospital. And he said that he's going to get a social worker. I don't know if he's going to get a social worker. The brother's been in the hospital before. These medical professionals can see the state that he is in. And even though they can see the state that this guy's in, they still discharge him. So the brother's been in the hospital before, has been discharged, and nothing happened. So my friend says he's going to get a social worker. I don't know. Maybe somebody from the hospital will ring social services. I don't know. But that's how my evening last night went, because my friend phoned me at midnight around that time, and then I texted my friend at 3 a.m, and then I'll text him later and ask him how he's doing. I'll text him later, ask him how he's doing. But so far, his brother is in the hospital. Whether or not he's going to get a social worker, I don't know. He needs a social worker. He needs to have his own disability flat. But we'll just have to wait and see if this guy actually does get a social worker, because this guy's been in the hospital before with some crisis, and the medical professionals discharged him even though they could see the state he was in. They could see he needed a social worker, but they didn't do anything about it. So whether the medical professionals ring social services and get this guy a social worker now, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's how my night went. I wanted to let you know that my friend's brother has been admitted to hospital because he ran down the stairs being an 8XL and collapsed in the car park. I don't know why he ran down the stairs and why he collapsed in the car park, but he did. And we just have to wait and see. Watch that space. See if the brother gets the help that he needs. See if the brother ever gets on ESA or UC. See if the brother gets his prescriptions back. See if the brother gets a social worker. See if the brother gets his own disability apartment. We'll just have to wait and see. So that concludes my video. I just wanted to make this video really quick before I went to work. So if you like my video, please like and subscribe. And this is just another example of what it's like being poor in the UK. And I know a lot of poor people. I know a lot of people in the mental health community. And this is just another example of poverty, mental illness in the UK. And thank you for watching.